Right. I don't know why I've kept that intro, but let me it mic unmuted. I did a live a couple of days ago, now, and one of my friends messaged me yesterday and said, by the way, that live you did, that video you did on YouTube, has no sound. Hopefully, we have sound here. But what that does is when you do that intro, it mutes the mic. So I'm wondering if it kept it muted. Anyway, let's move on. The one that didn't have any sound, I can redo. I'm going to talk about something that I think is important if you are a 40-plus man who wants to build muscle and build strength in a way that is efficient with your time and, of course, safe. There's nothing worse than getting injured after 40 or even in your late 30s. I started to notice that just the little niggles that I was picking up in my late 30s just seemed to take longer to heal. And then, of course, I hurt my rotator cuff in lockdown, and then I tore on the same arm. I tore my bicep moving a washing machine, and that took a long time to heal. Ridiculous amount. That rotator cuff was well over 2 years to really get back to where it wanted to be. So we want it to be safe. We're talking about this because someone came up to me in the gym today and was like, can I ask you a question about using the Smith machine for shoulders? They were doing dumbbell presses, and I was doing pretty much next to them the same exercise but on the Smith machine, and they just wanted to know, like, why do I do it on the Smith machine? Is it better or not? So we'll cover some pros and cons for each. Spoiler, if you only want to watch up to now, I don't think it really matters, quite frankly. More of you, if I could just get more 40-plus executives to just go into the gym or, I don't know, set up something in the garden or in the lounge and just lift some weights twice a week, 3 times a week, and progressively get stronger, I probably wouldn't care what exercises you do, as long as you do them safely and you work hard. But of course, as executives, we want to optimize what we're doing. If we're going to spend 20, 30, 40 minutes lifting, we may as well get the best results we can, and we may as well try to make it as safe as possible. Let's start with machines, and let's start with why people think they are bad, because this is something that is interesting. Had you posted a video of yourself doing a Smith machine squat maybe 5-10 years ago, you would have got told you should be doing the barbell, you should be using dumbbells, you should be doing free weights. And funny enough, I was in the gym last week and I was waiting to use the Smith machine, and the guy on it who I chat to was like, oh, I'm leaving anyway, like my friend is taking the mick out of me for using the Smith machine, so we're going to do with the bar. Good for me, because I wanted to use the Smith machine. That is big. And the reason why people think that the machines aren't very good is because they don't train. Typically, the thing you'll hear is they don't train your stabilizers. And then typically, if you ask someone, well, what stabilizers are you talking about? They'll say, I don't really know. And here's the thing. Over the years, I started off like most people, probably favoring free weights. But I would do a bit of both, but mostly free weights for the same reason. I thought they were better. And I did lots of dumbbell rows, bent over rows, chest presses with the dumbbells, barbell presses. And I still eventually ended up with a rotator cuff issue. So I don't think we really have to. I think the whole stabilization thing is a bit shitty, to be honest. The other negative that people will say about using free weights is it's not functional. That if you, for example, get strong using the leg press, then you won't be able to use that strength in real life. So you'll be that 50-year-old, 60-year-old man that has strength in the gym on the leg press, but you won't be able to get out of your chair, which, of course, if you're trying to get stronger in your 40s and 50s, some of the things we are trying to, as sad as it may be to admit, we are trying to make sure that we go into our 50s and 60s and we are able to get off the chair, we can walk to the shops. It's not all about vanity at this point. So those are what people think are the negatives for machines. I think it's complete nonsense. So I'll give you this story. I have not done a standing barbell shoulder press with the barbell for over 10 years. I can remember I was working at a Nuffield when the last time I had it as a regular feature in my training. That must have been 2010 to maybe 2015 or so. So it's a long time. And I was in the gym the other day and I was doing the Smith machine shoulder press. I got chatting to one of the guys and he was talking about wanting to get stronger. One of his goals was to be able to overhead press a certain amount of weight. And he said, like, how much can you lift on this shoulder press? And I was like, I don't know. I literally haven't done it. And I still was stronger than him. And this is a guy that has been trying to get stronger on that shoulder press for a long time. And I walked up and still did more than him because I still have good shoulder strength. I have good core strength. And yes, I may not be always doing that exercise specifically, but that strength still carries over. So I don't think the whole it's functional thing is as important as people make out. I'm not saying you shouldn't do any of that training, but I will come back to that. So they're the kind of the negatives with what people perceive of machines. I see them as positives. So the positives for using machines as a 40+ man: very stable. Stable exercises allow you to create more force. They will allow you to use more muscle, for lack of to keep it simple, and you will be able to get stronger probably quicker. And it allows you to isolate a bit more typically. So that is the benefit of a machine. I can set it up, I can be stable, and I can progressively get stronger very, very safely, which is what I said to the person in the gym today that asked me about the Smith machine. I said, look, the dumbbells can be a bit of a faff getting them up, which, that's one of the negatives I'll come back to in a minute. Often the progression on the dumbbells can be quite bad. Like I think in my gym, they go 30, 35, 40, 45. Jumping from one dumbbell to the next is challenging, whereas I can put little plates onto the Smith machine. I actually showed that person the little baby plates I'm always talking about. So I have more of a longevity in the movement, and it's easier to set up. Machines especially. If you're somebody that is pretty time poor, it can take quite long to get a barbell, put the plates on, take the plates off, move things around, find space in the gym, versus just sit on a machine, move the height of the seat or the handles or whatever it is, and then pull the pin out, do a warm-up set. Pull the pin out, do a warm-up set. All things being equal, a machine is going to be quicker. So there are your benefits with machines. Quicker, more stability, so you could argue better for muscle building if you are just looking for targeting muscles. Again, we can talk about kind of functional training in a minute. But if you're somebody that's training for kind of fat loss and muscle building just to look good, or that is part of your goal, no one says you have to have one goal, but if that is part of your goal, like it is mine, machines work well. It's easier to progress them, and typically it's safer. And one massive benefit of machines, for those of you that are new to training, is there's a very small learning curve. When you start lifting weights, you have to learn the exercise first. You have to learn the technique. You then have to improve your coordination. Then you have to get confidence, and then you can build strength. Then you will get results. Let's take a barbell squat. You could take 6, 7, 8 weeks to really get half decent at it, but to get really good at squatting, you could take months. But on a leg press, I've been like a great example. I've been training my stepson who is 13. We haven't started any of the free weight stuff yet. I'm just training him with machines just to get his confidence up, and he really enjoys the leg stuff, like the hamstring curl, the leg extension, and the leg press. I'm just getting him to understand the control and the movement, get him to kind of understand how it feels, and then at some point in the next few weeks, I'll take him off the machine a couple of sessions a week, and I will start to show him how to do the squats. But still, very little learning curve. We've been going 3 weeks now, and on the leg press, he's just moving up and down with control, and I'm able to just every session he's able to do a little bit more weight or a little or more reps. Of course, that will slow down at some point, but the learning curve is much shorter. So they're the positives. They're the benefits of the machines. The negatives, if you want them to be negatives, then they would be not functional, don't train stabilizers. I don't think that's a big problem personally. And quite frankly, because I think most men are going to end up doing a bit of a mixture of both, it doesn't really matter. But if you're short on time, I think the machines might be a benefit for you. If you're also not very confident and you really want to make the training as safe as possible, it's quite hard to hurt yourself on a machine shoulder press. Like even that, I said to the guy, the person in the gym today, I can go quite heavy. I can set the little safety bars on the machine. And actually, I needed them today because I went for one more rep that I probably shouldn't have done, and I couldn't finish it. And I could just place it on the rack. The machine doesn't move around. I can set myself up. I can be very particular with my technique. Whereas with the free weights, it's easier to hurt yourself. But again, really depends on how much you're lifting and how much you practice. With the free weights, the benefit, some of the machines just won't fit your body. Like you'll get on a machine. Like I've just gone back to another gym, and I've got 2 gym memberships now, and I'm kind of doing 2 sessions for each. And one of them, I went on the shoulder press at the Nuffield, and I was like, "Wow, but that is giving me shoulder pain in both shoulders, in the exact same space." And it didn't matter where I sat. It didn't matter where I put my hands. It felt uncomfortable. Funnily enough, it didn't feel that uncomfortable before when I left. But the shoulder press at the other gym feels really nice. So you might go into your gym and do an exercise and be like, that movement, the way that machine moves just doesn't sit right. We've got one leg extension in the gym that I go to in the kind of more the bodybuilding gym where the kit's a bit more old school. And the leg extension machine is really strange. I think it works well for me. I like it. It could be better, but I don't dislike it. And I think that's because I'm short. Whereas some of the taller guys, you just can't adjust it enough. It's a great example of where that machine isn't very good for them. Luckily, we have 2 machines because you can't really very easily replicate a leg extension. So that is one benefit of the free weights. You might find some of the machines don't fit your body, and it just feels nicer with a free weight. I remember a long time finding that split squats on a Smith machine didn't feel very nice, but that was more of a case of it took me a bit of time to kind of really hone the kind of setup for it. But if I put a bar on my back, obviously I can move where it feels more comfortable. So there's a definite benefit of free weights. Another benefit of free weights is that they're pretty standardized. So if you're lifting a 20-kilo dumbbell at home and then you go traveling for your business, a 20-kilo dumbbell is going to be relatively similar. So being consistent can be a little bit easier. Whereas I can go into one gym and I can lift 100 kilos on a machine, and then in another gym I can only do 45, and in another gym it's 200. It really does vary. So if you're training in a gym and you frequently train in random hotel gyms around the country, or you travel for business, and you want to standardize it, like you are someone that, like for me, if I traveled a lot, the last thing I would want is to be going into new gyms every time and using the machines, because I would go back to that thing of like, am I getting any true progress here, or am I relearning the machine? Because there is a learning curve, even with different machines. There's still a factor there. Whereas if I use barbells and dumbbells, I know that if I do a bent over row with 100 kilos on the bar, that 100 kilos in bar is going to be the same anywhere I go. Some of the plates in old gyms might not be exact, but it's close enough. So there's a benefit of free weights. When I say free weights, I'm also kind of referring to bands and cables, although you could say they're machines. But again, we'll leave that. I think I'll cover that another time. The other benefits of free weights: allowing you to learn to move with better posture, or go through more functional movement patterns. I do think it is a good idea to learn things like squats and deadlifts and how to move and how to hip hinge. Those things are valuable. So that is why I would never probably get someone to do just machines. So there's a definite positive benefit there to free weights. The negative, or the cons of free weights, like I said before, it can be quite time consuming setting them up, going to get the bar, loading the plates. I mean, that can be said for machines as well. But in general, free weights can often take a little bit more time. For some of you that are pushed for time, again, you might be better off just getting on a machine. And then, of course, with the free weights, the negative is there is a bigger learning curve, and there is a slightly bigger chance of injury. I think if you're doing things carefully, the risks are obviously minimized, but on a free weight exercise where you're moving around in space, you've got stability, it does only take one bad rep. I've been doing a lot of bicep curls where my elbow is pinned into a preacher, and last week there was a lady on that machine, but there's 2 bars. So what I thought I would do is, while she was doing her sets, I would warm up standing with the curls, and then I would just do a few warm-up sets. And then once she was finished, I would move the bar onto the preacher, and I would carry on like that. And I just lifted barely even 50% of my weight. I think I was working up to 20 kilos plus the bar, and I think I had 10 on in total plus the bar. And the very second I lifted, I just moved like my body a little bit, and I injured between my shoulder blade. It was all right the next day, but it really did affect the rest of that session a little bit. And that was with a lightweight, and that's me. And all it took was for me to just lose my concentration for a second. And easy to hurt yourself. So I'm not saying that free weights are necessarily dangerous, but you do have to concentrate. You do have to be more careful. On the machines, it's more of a case of, you just have to be careful, but you're locked in and you're pretty fixed. And if you're using a machine where, there's no way you can drop a bar on your head, and a lot of the danger is removed in that sense. So really, the answer to this is to do what you think benefits you the most. The answer is probably a combination. But if I had to choose, I'm going to be brutally honest, I'm doing nearly all of my movements on machines now. That being said, I'm still competent at the free weight movements. After 20 years of lifting, I can still come in and squat. I'll be a bit rusty, but I can squat and I can deadlift. And a lot of these movements are ingrained now. So it's almost like I have that skill there that I don't necessarily have to keep practicing it. I don't have to work on it as much. That being said, I am considering putting deadlifts back in once my lower back is a little bit better, because I've just got a bit of a sore lower back, because I miss doing them. I quite enjoy doing them. So you have to factor in enjoyment, safety, and of course, time. If I had to choose for most guys who are beginning their journey, I think, well, this is what I used to do with clients. You can have 3 or 4 movements that are machines, and you can see that part of the session as maybe like a leg press, a row, a chest press, maybe something like a pull down. And then you can see those 3, 4, 5 exercises as the exercises that are challenging. Because after a few weeks of doing them, you'll be like, I feel competent, I understand them, I know what to do, I feel confident, I know I'm not going to hurt myself. We've gradually ramped the weight up, and now I can work hard. So let's say you've got a 35, 45-minute session. Maybe one set on each of those, might take 15, 20, 25 minutes. But let's say you've got 15, 20 minutes left. What I would often do with clients is we would warm up by practicing movements like the deadlift or the squats or lunges. So I'd say, right, well, we've got the machine is going to be the challenging part of the session, but I want to warm up. I want to practice this deadlift movement. I want to practice this squat movement. That might take 5-10 minutes. You could do that every session to kind of increase the speed up the learning curve. And then you warm up a little bit, and then you use the machines. Over time, your ability to work hard in the free weights goes up, and it all becomes challenging, and that's a nice place to be. So that is a nice way to do it, where you kind of use free weights as kind of, you don't pressure yourself into feeling like you have to bust your ass, and you don't worry about going mental. It's like a warm-up. It's relatively low intensity because you aren't ready to go heavy on these things, but you get to practice the movement. You've done that for 5, 10, 15 minutes, and then you get to go on the machines, and you get to actually say, right, I'm going to work hard now. This is probably the approach I will do with my stepson. We have got exercises now where his strength is going up really quickly because they're so simple. Leg curls, leg extensions, rows. He's not very good at the chest press at the moment. He's still a bit like the shoulders want to rise and stuff, but that will come. But we've been doing this now. I think this is week 4, maybe week 3, week 4, and we've been going 3 or 4 times a week. So we've done those exercises quite a few times, and he's pretty happy with them. And we're now at a point now where I don't have to coach him much with the movement. You know, I help him if he gets a bit sloppy. We all have, you know, we all tend to move a bit quickly sometimes. You know, and he's fairly new, but for the most part, I could just have to make sure he's doing it safely. We look at his little notepad or on his phone, his note. We look at what he did last time, and then I decide, should we do more reps or more weight? Should we do the same? That's a great place to be, because now we've got those kind of core exercises. They don't take very long, especially legs. Legs is just leg curl, 1 set, leg press, 1 set, sometimes 2, and then inner and outer thigh. It's literally about 10-15 minutes of work. We have a bit of time for cardio, and at some point in the next couple of weeks, I'll probably introduce some movements I want him to learn, like the squat, the deadlift, stiff leg deadlifts, things with free weights. And then over time, he'll be competent and knowledgeable about all of them, which means he can just pick and choose based on his goals, which is where all of you want to get to. So it's one of those annoying ones where I can't just sit here and go, machines are really good, free weights are bad. Or, you know, free weights are amazing because they're good for your stabilizers. You're a moron if you use machines, because it doesn't work like that. It's not very sexy, but it isn't black and white like that. And obviously a lot of fitness content tends to be black and white like that because it stirs up emotions, it pisses people off, and that drives engagement, which is good for the person posting the video because it gets more views, but often at the detriment of the person who is trying to learn. So take the pros and cons from this video, understand that, quite frankly, you could do a bit of all of it and it wouldn't matter. And in fact, if I went into that gym, into the Nuffield today, I went back after about a year ago. I left over a year, and I've gone back, and a lot of the guys, I hate to say it, look exactly the same. Haven't lost any body fat, haven't gained any muscle, still look relatively weak. Great fit. What I would change for these guys, because a lot of them are consistent. There's a couple of guys that come to mind now that I see every time I go in there. Sometimes I see them when I'm doing cardio, so they're definitely lifting more times than me. Body shape is going to get a lot of shit for this, but average, like, you wouldn't know this person is a gym goer. I would rather they just worked hard and got strong on a few movements and they did good form. And the ones I'm thinking about in my mind, really shit technique, not much effort, weak. I would rather you just get good at a few exercises that you choose, whether it's free weights or machines. I don't fucking care. Just pick a little handful of exercises, 1 for each muscle group, feel good on them, be confident on them, and work hard. Eat well, your body will change much faster. And as you do that, you can decide based on how these exercises feel. You know, the person I spoke to today was struggling with the shoulder press because they couldn't get the next dumbbell up. So the little things like that means, yeah, machine is probably better for you. But ultimately, it doesn't overly matter. There are pros and cons to both. And it's for you to decide based on your preference, your goals, and of course, how much time you have. I hope that's helpful, because it's obviously not black and white. It never is. That's why you have to get good at thinking about these things instead of just watching content and saying, machines good, free weights bad, or low carb great, high carb bad. Because you're not going to think critically about any of this, and you're not going to be able to tailor anything to your needs. And if you'd like some help tailoring all this, if you'd like me to write you a plan that's tailored to your goals, how much time you have, the kit you have available, the days you want to train. If you want me to write you a nutrition plan that takes into account social life, you're traveling, maybe you like a drink now and again, and you'd like someone to hold your hand, give you a kick up the butt, hold you accountable, get the support from other male 40+ executives then just send me a message or just comment below the word machine, so I know where you've come from, and we can have a chat and we can discuss what your struggles are, what your goals are, to see if I'm the right person to help you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully this one has sound on it. Otherwise, that'll be 2 in a row and I'll be really pissed off. And I'll speak to you soon.